Hello and welcome back. I am here for a solo episode today, and just like I did a couple weeks ago, I am doing a listener and viewer requested topic again from my girl Audrey Rose. And this one is, as you saw in the title, it is talking about the difference between prepackaged salads versus homemade, you creating your own salads from scratch and the difference between those two. So I'm excited to dive into this because, you would think that it wouldn't really matter whether you had a prepackaged salad versus a homemade, made from scratch salad, but there actually is some really interesting research behind prepackaged, already made salads. And so we're going to dive into that today. So before we get into that, I always like to cover the scope of the issue and tell you what exactly we're going to be diving into today. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So the first thing I want to discuss today, the first thing we'll be talking about is like what you should be aware of if you are consuming prepackaged salads. Okay. Not to scare you, but there is some interesting information, some shocking information that I'm going to share with you that you might not be aware of. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about bacteria. Yes, bacteria is part of the issue. So we're going to talk about some bacteria that can be causing issues for your entire microbiome, but just your body in general if you are consuming prepackaged foods or prepackaged salads, but honestly, any salad ingredient if you're not washing it thoroughly. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the benefits of homemade salads, and then if you're really someone who needs to be buying from time to time prepackaged salads, we're going to talk about what are some tips that you can walk away with today for looking for the best prepackaged salad and making the best choices when it comes to those prepackaged salads, so that you are getting the best quality, but also ensuring that you're reducing your risk for illness and acquiring any bacteria from these said salads. So let's dive into this. First things first, okay? So let's talk about prepackaged salads. According to Consumer Reports, they have tested several brands of prepackaged salads, and they have found bacteria present in these prepackaged salads. Now, they've found just bacteria in general, but a lot of the bacteria that they have found is under the name of Enterococcus. And if you're like, what on earth is that? I've heard that before, but what is that? It is fecal contamination. So it's like fertilizer manure, right? Why is that important to know? Well, because we don't want to be consuming, obviously, fertilizer, right? That's really not something that we want to be ingesting or digesting. Now, here's the interesting thing. Federal limits only consist for organisms in water, raw meat, milk, and some processed foods, but there is no federal limit on how much bacteria can be in produce, which is really mind-blowing to me again, and also very scary, right? Because again, how are we helping our bodies to be healthy if we have all this extra bacteria coming into our bodies from foods that should be healthy, right? Like we're talking about salads. Salads should be healthy, and yet we're putting salad salad ingredients into our body that oftentimes has bacteria on it, which is just awful. So, according to some of the bacterial experts, they say that having no more than 10,000 colony forming units per gram is, deemed acceptable, right? And that still sounds like an insane amount to me. But if we go by that frame of reference, according to Consumer Reports, when they did their study and they looked at these different salad brands, 39% of them exceeded the 10,000 colony forming units per gram recommendation, and 23% exceeded the that same number, that 10,000 colony forming units per gram for Enterococcus. So just bacteria in general, 39% exceeded that 10,000 colony forming units per gram, and then 23% exceeded the Enterococcus. That's just gross, disgusting, and just really scary, to be quite honest. Makes me like not want to touch a prepackaged salad. Now, some of the brands that they shared, they didn't come out and share all of their brands, but some of the brands that they had at least 4 different selections from, because again, these brands have lots of different options of salad mixes. But the ones that they had at least 4 different options of during their testing were the Dole brand, Earthbound Farm Organic. And again, you hear organic, you think, okay, that should be good, right? But not so in this particular case. And then Fresh Express. So those were the 3 that came up the most in their study. And were part of this shocking statistic. Now, I also came upon some graduate research information from a graduate researcher at Ohio State University at OSU, which is here locally in Central Ohio. And they found that between a 5-year span between 2018 and 2022, there were 12 outbreaks of bacteria that occurred in multiple states related to salad, prepackaged salads. Also, part of this umbrella was just salad contents in general, or so like leafy greens. But I would say 80% of the cases of the outbreaks were from pre-packaged salad mixes, and only about 20% were from just salad type greens in general, not necessarily from a pre-packaged salad. So again, very alarming, very shocking. It makes me think, like, what can we start doing to make sure that the sanitation, that the quality of our produce is at the top of the agenda, because it doesn't sound like we are really keeping in mind the importance of having healthy ingredients in the grocery store. It sounds like the way that we are conducting ourselves with these prepackaged salad mixes, and even just lettuces and leafy greens that are sold a la carte, sounds like we need to be doing a better job of making sure that these are kept clean, because it does not sound like this is a top priority for those who are selling these to stores. So yeah, very shocking. Now, the other thing that I found in my research was, if you're buying a packaged salad, the salad's only as fresh as its weakest ingredient. So once, say the lettuce goes bad, but you still have really fresh carrots that can last weeks, well, it doesn't matter, because that ingredient is now going to start, decomposing, if you will, and as it starts to die, it's going to impact the rest of the ingredients. It's going to create a dead, so to speak, salad mix a lot quicker, because that oxidation from the old ingredients is going to then bleed into the rest of the ingredients, if you will. I'm trying to give you a like more scientific or a better sounding description of that, but that's the best way that I can describe that, just off the top of my head. So once one ingredient becomes past its expiration date, that impacts the rest of the ingredients in the mix. And so once that first ingredient's done, the rest of the mix is done too. The other thing too that I found really unsettling was that if you didn't know, your salad mixes are washed in chlorine and another sanitizer that has yet to be revealed. We don't know what that is. I tried to find it, but nobody shares what exactly that is. But it's a mixture of chlorine and another sanitizer or a sanitizing ingredient before being rinsed with water. And here's the even more mind-blowing piece is that the FDA does not require greens to be washed. I'm sorry, what? They do not mandate that greens need to be washed. There's our first problem is that we are not making sure that our ingredients are put at the top of the list. Like we are not thinking about how important it is to have quality ingredients that are fresh, that are clean, that are then coming to our stores and then going home to us. And even when we wash them, still can't get all that dirt, that grease, that grime, that whatever it's been touched by, right? The bacteria. Like we're not prioritizing how important it is that the food that we are purchasing at grocery stores, at supermarkets, needs to be. It needs to be clean. Why are we not prioritizing that? I don't get that. I don't understand it. So I'm going to try to get off my high horse there. But I do want to still talk about this bacteria piece because this is basically the biggest part of this conversation that we're having, which is there are really three main bacteria that come up over and over again in the research that I have read and found. And the three most common bacterial sources that we find in leafy greens and in salad mixes would be Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli. Now, Listeria, I'm going to share with you how you get that, like where it comes from, and then what symptoms you might experience if you are having any thoughts that you might have that bacteria festering in your body and creating some unsettling symptoms. So Listeria is a bacteria that comes from contaminated manure and fertilizer. Okay, so gross, just to begin with. But the symptoms that come with that can include fever, diarrhea, and these symptoms can actually happen a lot later than you would actually anticipate they would. So most often these symptoms arise 1 to 4 weeks after consuming the contaminated food or the contaminated product, which again it's scary because then we hear of these cases, right? And we think, okay, well, it must have if this person got sick, they must have just consumed it. Well, not necessarily. It can take 1 to 4 weeks for that to really manifest in your body. Salmonella is the next one. So salmonella is typically found from meat contamination, raw dairy milk, untreated water. So those are the three main sources. And those things can be cross-contaminated with your prepackaged salads and with your salad leafy green a la carte ingredients too. So some of the symptoms you might experience are similar to Listeria, including diarrhea, vomiting, stomach cramps, fever, nausea, chills, headache, and even blood in your stool. The third one is E. coli. That's probably one of the most common that we see. But again, E. coli, similar to Salmonella, can be from untreated water, raw meat, and raw milk, untreated milk. So again, this can have symptoms such as stomach cramps, vomiting, loss of appetite, fever, gas, tiredness, and nausea. So these are the three most common that we're seeing in the cases of contaminated salad ingredients and contaminated prepackaged salads. Now that I've scared the living bejesus out of you, and I am just doing my job here, which is to educate and inform you. Again, you do what you will and what you wish with the information I give you, but I just want you to be knowledgeable about this stuff. So, okay, so now let's flip over to the benefits of a homemade salad, right? Because we've talked so much about prepackaged salads, and you might at this point be like, okay, I don't think I want to do prepackaged salad route anymore. Let's talk about the benefits of a homemade salad. Well, first of all, you're making it at home. You're making it from scratch, right? So there's no additives, there's no preservatives, and it's fresher, right? Because hopefully you are getting the ingredients and you're making it right away. You're not letting it sit um and wilt, right? And become a potential source of bacteria for you. So those would be your big benefits of creating a homemade salad, right? You also get to determine what goes into it. You are washing the ingredients yourself, so you know that you're doing, your routine, your preferred routine of cleansing and cleaning the ingredients that go into your salad. So you have more autonomy, um you have more power, if you will, in the salad creation process, obviously, when you create your own homemade salad versus getting a prepackaged salad. So, last thing I want to mention before we wrap this up is tips for buying a prepackaged salad if you still are going to go down that route. Okay. And so, the first thing I would mention to you is make sure you are buying prepackaged salads that are as far out from the use by date as you can possibly find. I always, if I'm gonna do it, and now at this point, I don't think I'm gonna buy prepackaged salads anymore because in knowing what I know from this research, it scares me a little bit to be consuming these prepackaged salads that I know now have some really awful bacteria potentially present in them. And again, that doesn't mean that every salad you purchase does, but we just need to be mindful of what we're consuming, right? And how often we're consuming it. So I know that personally I cannot speak today. I know that personally when I have purchased prepackaged salads, I have always, as a rule of thumb, looked for the furthest out date. It was just something that my mom always, did, and I followed suit, right? So that's gonna help you to make sure that your ingredients in that bag are as fresh as possible. Second thing, even if the bag says pre-washed or triple washed, still wash it yourself because you're still going to be able to remove bacteria. And in them washing the greens, maybe 3 times, that still doesn't remove all the residual bacterial that comes from the farms in which these um, greens were sourced. So just make sure, and hopefully you already know this, but just make sure that you are still washing your greens, even if it says they were triple washed, still do it yourself because you're going to get off even more bacteria from them. Okay. The last thing is make sure that you are keeping your salad greens away. This is, not only for the prepackaged, which should be easier to do if you're doing prepackaged, but um, especially if you are purchasing salad ingredients a la carte, you want to make sure that you are keeping your greens and your meat, your raw meat, away from each other. And even if you have a prepackaged salad and you're, putting that into a bowl and you're making something with raw meat, just make sure you keep those things separate because you could still end up with contamination, even if um, you know, you had those two things separate. If they somehow find their way together or you didn't wash your hands after you were handling the raw meat, that's just a bad case waiting to explode for you in terms of having that potential of salmonella or E. coli. So we just don't want to even go down that path. But that is it. I hope that this, as always, was informative for you. Again, thank you, Audrey Rose, for asking me to do this topic. I hope that this was helpful in helping you to understand a little bit more about prepackaged salads and really, making sure that you are doing your part in making sure that the ingredients that you are sourcing from the store, that you are purchasing as prepackaged salads, that you're aware of, all the behind the scenes that's happening that is not readily shared with us. So, as part of my job is to share that stuff with you, to inform you, to educate you so that you can move forward being more knowledgeable That is something that I really pride myself on, as I've said before, is being able to do the research and share it with you because, most of us don't have time to go out and do this research. And it's something that I love to do. And I don't think I'll ever not love doing this. Does that make sense? I don't think I'll ever not love. Yeah. Sorry, words are hard today. But yeah, again, as always, if you've got a topic that you want me to go over, I am happy to do that. Just send it my way. You can send it to my email. You can send it to one of my social media accounts, and I would love to give you the credit for sharing that topic with me. Last thing is last before I let you go. Just want to make sure that you are aware that we have an incredible lineup of 8 wonderful speakers that are all my friends, but have so many incredible gifts and talents and knowledge in the health and wellness space that will be coming together this summer from July 20th to July 21st. It's a Saturday and Sunday for the Women's Virtual Health and Wellness Summit that I will be hosting this summer. And I'm super excited to have hopefully you attend. It is going to be an incredible 2-day event where you're going to learn from, like I said, 8 incredible speakers. You are going to get a health and wellness kit that has items that have been hand selected by the speakers, as well as some extra goodies that are going in there, health and wellness related from myself to you. We are going to have lots of giveaway options, giveaway opportunities. And it's just going to be a great way for you to connect with the speakers, for you to connect with the women that are part of this event. And this is really for the woman who wants to who wants to up level her health and wellness and is ready to do that with other like-minded women. So any age is welcome, 20s all the way up into your 50s and 60s, you name it, this is open to you. And I'm just super excited. I've been wanting to do this for the longest time, and I'm now finally getting to do it. So if you have any questions, DM me in on Instagram or on Facebook. I have plenty of resources, whether it's an Instagram Live, a Facebook Live that I've done. You can check out the Facebook, Instagram, or the Facebook podcast page that also has information about it. And there's a link in my Instagram bio for you to get your tickets. So tickets will be on sale until June 15th, which is a Friday. So you've got a couple more weeks at the time of this episode being released. So again, any questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm an open book and I will answer anything that you need clarification on. And I'm super excited. We already have several tickets sold and I'm just so excited to, again, be able to host this. It's been a dream of mine, and I look forward to being able to host more of these in the future. So, yeah, hope to see you there. Until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will chat with you later. Take care.